Here at Goldman and Daskell, over the years, we've handled many cases involving pedestrians. And oftentimes with those pedestrians, it involves some level of comparative negligence. Whether the person is crossing in the crosswalk or they're outside of the crosswalk, there's several factors that we have to look at. So even if the driver of a vehicle that hits a pedestrian claims that the pedestrian was at fault, you can still make a claim. So one of the things that we look at first is whether or not they were in the crosswalk. Most times the pedestrians are, and they're just unfortunately hit. A lot of times what happens though is that person is walking across the street. Maybe they decide to get out into the roadway before the crosswalk because they think it's clear, and they're hit by the car. In those circumstances, the driver of the vehicle still has a duty to that pedestrian to make sure that they're keeping a lookout and making sure that they're not going to hit somebody because they're driving a 2-ton vehicle. And the legislature has set statutes in favor of the pedestrians for that very reason. Another instance that we come across is in parking lots. Whether it's at your local grocery store or whether you're at a strip mall going to just a store to pick up supplies, the driver still has to be aware of his surroundings because you are cognizant of the fact that there are people walking in that area and somebody could come out from the sidewalk at any minute. So you have to be aware, and the law protects the pedestrians in those circumstances. The last instance is when you're dealing with people walking in the street, whether it's in a school zone. So a lot of times we've had cases where there's a kid that runs out into the street and the driver hits him. And it's a very unfortunate case, but the driver of that vehicle knows they're in the school zone. So they know that there's a possibility a young kid could run out into the street and they could hit them. So they need to be on high alert. So in those circumstances, we look at all those factors and we determine, one, whether the driver was 100% at fault or whether they were just partially at fault. And in Florida, we apply the comparative negligence doctrine, in which case, if that driver was 100% at fault or 50% at fault or whatever we can determine, the negligence and the compensation is applied accordingly based upon that percentage of negligence. So if you know somebody who's been involved in an accident or in a similar situation like this, please have them give us a call here at Goldman and Daskell. Thank you.